Once upon a time, he was dousing fires, but now he hoses down hopes and dreams with his sharp insights and brutal honesty. When he's not astounding audiences, he's busy at Uptick as a performance marketing mastermind and a salesman to the stars. Weighing in at 6'5", 230 pounds, let's see if he can tip the scales in his favor or fall victim to the shark-infested waters on this legendary panel. Give it up for the multi-talented Jerry, the Golden God Singer.
Yo, gang, gang. What's up, everybody? Excited to be here. I'm really excited for this panel. Actually, I think Sam, this might be the most talented panel we've ever put together. Well, you've ever put together. I don't want to take credit for it. I just show up. I'm really excited to do this one. So, what's up, bitches? Happy to be here with you guys.
The only one that's missing is Knock in the audience. Somebody get Knock in here stat. But yeah, I agree, man. It's absolutely lit. From the labyrinths of Dungeon Siege 2, remember that one, to co-founding an organization acquired by Activision. His designs have left imprints on gamers worldwide. With over a decade of innovation at Microsoft, he chose not to rest on his laurels, but instead leapt forward into the future. Since 2017, he's been riding the blockchain wave, envisioning a decentralized dawn where fingers meet joysticks. Now he works on his magnum opus at Coin Games, a trading card game which looks to revolutionize TCGs with a relentless focus on unparalleled user experience and treating ownership not just as a gimmick but as a genuine game changer. Welcome to the panel, the visionary whose past fuels the future. Excuse me. It's the king of Coin Games. It's Kevin Lambert.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, come up for air finally, and chat with all these fine folks. This panel is awesome, and I see what you did there with unparalleled user experience. That's good stuff.
I didn't even have space in the intro to tell you guys that Kevin Lambert is a top 50 parallel player worldwide while also being a founder. Absolute insane stuff. Maybe he'll take home that 250K at the parallel tournament that's coming up in Vegas. That'd be pretty sick. Up next, whether he's leading the charge on NFTs or simplifying the most complex concepts, he's the brainy brute who's as unstoppable in esports as he is in the boardroom. The maestro of Magic Eden, turning digital treasures into pure gold while always knocking down knowledge like it's a game of dominoes. Pneumonia knocked him down but not out, and now he's back to exact 6 weeks worth of revenge on our panel. Please welcome the chief simplifying officer, the Duke of Digital Deals, and the ruler of RuneScape. It's Knock.
Dude, death, taxes, and Elon Musk fucking me up every single day on Twitter Spaces. This is unbelievable. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm back on the panel now. Should be a good one.
We can hear you. Good to have you back, brother. I also want to hear from you guys in the comments. I wrote a lot of these intros from scratch literally this morning. I want to hear from you guys which one is your favorite as we get toward the end of it. I didn't have any giveaways planned, but I'm in such a good mood, dude. I'm gonna give away, I don't know, 100 or 200 bucks of AVAX in my own money just to satiate all the amazing listeners out there. Give us a retweet, get more people in this space. Again, one of the greatest topic and panel lineups that we've ever had in the history of the show, and I'm feeling it today. I'll give away whatever I have to make sure as many people see this as possible. Up next, he's the undisputed meme lord of marketing, hurling internet humor and forward-thinking finesse straight from the icy peaks of Avalanche, where he doesn't just push pixels, he turns them into frozen fortresses of fun. Fresh off throwing the coolest conference this side of the Swiss Alps, the Avalanche Summit, and with a trophy case that includes Search Engine Marketer of the Year, this is a man who shovels the competition aside in the driveway of Web3, ready to spark a meme storm. Bring on the avalanche of applause for the Sultan of Snow, the maker of the memes. It's Avalanche's Coop.
Definitely loving the new intro. Thank you, Sam. Glad to be here.
Love you, buddy. Great to have you back. And our next guest isn't just gaming royalty. He's a visionary who took Parallel, the world's top NFT trading card game, from a promising project to an international sensation. Once a rock star, he traded guitar solos for digital domination, now orchestrating the strategic symphonies that created Tau Ceti, a 3v3 extraction shooter, and the newly beta-launched Wayfinder as of Monday, by the way, which aims to change the way crypto's engaged with forever. Think that's enough? Well, you're wrong, because he's crafting a competitive crescendo worthy of Sin City itself. He's minting monumental moments in Web3 gaming with a $500,000 parallel tournament culminating in a Vegas esports event March of next year. It's the card kingpin, the prince of parallel, and the unofficial office supplier of Gamified. It's Koji.
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm stoked for this one. Like, all of my favorite people are here. I didn't know Kevin was gonna be here. He's been a parallel supporter from like day one, basically. And I'm super excited to play his game. I'm just gonna pester him the whole time about letting me play his game. So, but yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Dude, ever since I saw the pitch deck for what Kevin's working on, I've been dying to get my hands on it. So maybe we can get a little 1v1 private play test. Maybe we can finesse that at the end of the show. And ladies and gentlemen, grab your garlic and your silver steaks because he's the maestro of mayhem, turning every room he enters into a haunted hall of high stakes horror. He's the deal making demon who turned haunted halls of Macau and transformed them into neon lit layers of legendary poker stakes. He breaks the rules like the bones of his competitors, and his latest cursed creation, My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, is already raising the dead and dragging the brave into a Web3 underworld where he's reimagining user acquisition and token launches. Lock your doors and say your prayers because our next guest is the nightmare nobody can wake up from. Steel your nerves and cross your fingers as we welcome the demon of the dark web, the titan of taboo. It's Senjin.
Ow! I'm here to eat your soul, so be prepared.
I love you, buddy. And when I realized we were so close to Halloween, I was like, "Fuck, we should have made it a Halloween episode." I'll just make Sinjin's intro extra spooky. That's the solution here. Our next guest is a titan of the courts and the consoles. This journalistic juggernaut has jousted through the ranks of dime and basketball insiders, juking the giants from players to coaches and executives. He's a Call of Duty obsessed former NBA reporter, and now he's the head of gaming partnerships at OpenSea, operating the OpenSea GG live streams. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the panel. It's the OpenSea operative, the crossover king. It's Oliver Big Rony Maroney.
Let's go. Great intro. Great intros. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yo, he's also the world's greatest Papa Shot player. I'm not lying. This is like 100% the truth. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, this comes up like by a different person like once a week.
I don't think it's a different person. I think it's just Koji every time. He's definitely my hype man. That was a fun time for sure.
Dude, I've been to like 6 conferences with Oliver at this point. I've never once seen him touch a Papa Shot. Conference number 7, Manila,
Retired on
Oliver.
top.
We're tracking one down, dude. We're tracking one down, okay? Up next, brace yourselves for the marketing mythologist, the Poseidon of promotion who's making waves in the digital cosmos. This is the man who can sell sand to Sisyphus and a torch to Prometheus. He's crafting a pantheon of players and king of destiny, rallying the faithful from realms beyond with games so addicting they'd make Hades jealous. Ready to rewrite the fates and turn back blockchain into the new Mount Olympus. He's the king of campaigns, the high priest of the hype from Infinigods and King of Destiny. We got Bride DeSanto back.
Yo, that intro is off the chain. How many gods did you get in there? I think maybe 10 or 12. But it's good to be up here in the panel with gods from across the industry, OGs, friends, familiar faces. Let's have a great show.
Thank you, brother. Great to have you back. 2 more to go. Prepare to be in awe of a man whose very presence could make a pixel blush and a platform tremble. He kicked off his career by giving us Age of Empires, the game that taught us history could be way cooler with catapults and castles. Then Halo Wars, because apparently building an entire empire wasn't ambitious enough, so he wanted to add space marines and alien invasions. And if that wasn't enough, he jumped into the mobile arena with Words with Friends, the only game where your mom, grandma, and your weirdly competitive cousin all think they're geniuses. He's a 5-time founder who exited Zynga for a cool $180 million, having conquered PC, mesmerized mobile, vaulted into VR, and now he's breaking crypto 1 block at a time. He's the prodigy of play, the patron saint of pioneering in games. It's prolific Paul Bettner.
I love you, man. That was an amazing intro. That was a new highlight for me. Which, by the way, Gamified is the highlight for me of the week as well. It's so great to be back here with y'all. This is a stacked panel, and it's honestly kind of a break for me, a nice break. I tweeted recently that I'm drowning in product market fit. I'm literally working from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep right now, and it's super fun and it's stressful and amazing. And this is a nice little oasis in the desert of nonstop work. So great to be here. Thanks for having me. Also, I'm going to leave and come back because I can't hear half the speakers. Thanks, Twitter. I'll be right back.
Twitter strikes again. Thanks, Paul, for making time for us. And last but not least, whether he's leaping into the latest lively discussions or lighting up our stage, this lovable lizard is always leading the pack. At 2.4 pounds, he's as little as a legend with a larger-than-life presence. It's my co-host, it's Lems.
GM, everyone, what is up? I 100% feel everything that Paul just said, because that's pretty much how I feel right now, is on computer from morning till night, and it is great to just kick back here and hang out with all of you guys and talk some shit and see what's good in the space.
You love to hear it. Shout out to the ETH Lizards and everything they're doing. We love the Lizards. Again, I'm giving out $200 of my own money on this show to make sure that you guys retweet the space, drop some comments, tell us what your favorite introduction was. I got two more for you. Of course, before we dive in head first to the high octane pixel pounding pandemonium that is Gamified, let's give a moment to acknowledge the real powerhouse making this all possible. It's Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. I'm fresh off the AVAX summit in Buenos Aires, where I learned all about AVAX new 9000. They're making it easier, cheaper, and more feature packed than ever to deploy your own layer one blockchain and clap the competition. Imagine owning your own block space where your community validates your chain, your own token fuels the gas, and you get to keep every bit of value right where it belongs in your own ecosystem. So remember that Avalanche is the engine powering Web3 gaming and Gamified. And of course, let's high five the force field that's keeping your digital assets growing. Our sponsor, StarNet, the official infrastructure of Gamified. StarNet's the next generation ad network powering the $100 billion spent every year on user acquisition. Instead of being owned by Google and Facebook, StarNet is taking a grassroots approach to user acquisition. Join the revolution of ad tech, and let's jump in to the very first topic of the day. Netflix is shutting down its quote unquote AAA game studio before it even launches a single title. What's the word for this one? Normally, Netflix likes to end on a cliffhanger, but not this time. They are killing their AAA game studio before it launches anything. They hired a bunch of high quality talent from other studios that have been working on an original IP, quote unquote, for the last 2 years. I don't know if you guys have heard similar things, but I've heard on a lot of podcasts that Netflix pays these people upwards of even like seven figures to basically poach them from other studios. We all know AAA gaming is a hard market. Presumably, they figured it wasn't worth continuing to take on that challenge. But it's still a surprise considering how much money they have and how deep in the weeds they were that they didn't even get to the point of like announcing a single game. So, what's the word for Netflix closing their AAA game studio? Koji, I see the hands, and we're sending it to Kevin Lambert.
Yeah, the word is scary. I mean, I think it just illustrates that making a game is hard. And, to all the comments that we see in crypto where it's like, yo, these guys had how much money and what did they fucking do? Like, it's not just about money. Like, you have to have skilled players, good ideas. There's like, the larger the machine, the more that has to go right. And, Netflix is one of the largest machines there is. And I also just think it's like a harbinger of like this is a hard time to try and release AAA games. Like the thing that people are most excited about right now seems like it's Call of Duty, and that's a game that comes out every year. Like we're not in a space where people are looking to do new things. It's almost like movies, right? Like the only huge hits are either IP based or sequels or whatever, and video games are the same. It's like, okay, when's the new Horizon game coming out or whatever? And so it's a lot harder for people to sort of break into the AAA space, and Netflix is no exception. And if they're having trouble, just imagine what some of the other people in the industry might be feeling like. So just, I don't know, everyone keep that in mind when you start shit talking games on Twitter.
Dude, I went on a rant on the ETH Lizard space the other day about how frustrated I am that, for the love of God, can we get some new IPs out there? God damn, let's send it over to Kevin Lambert, who's building a new IP. Thank you for that.
Hey, I'm gonna come out of the gate swinging with a little bit of a hot take on this one, and it may be a little pedantic to start, but a AAA game studio is a game studio that has shipped a AAA game. Until then, I think you've got AAA developers. So, like, and it's, I'm getting caught up on the terminology. I know some of these guys and work with them. They are awesome. They are talented, right? But I would not call them a AAA game studio yet. You earn that title. It's not handed to you, right? Based on your background. That said, um, it's sad, it's scary. Games are a hit-driven business, and depending on what they were trying to do, like I don't know much about the game other than it was going to be AAA, but I agree with what Koji said that like I've had the most success in my career building like evolutions, not revolutions, right? Like taking a game and some things that we know works and making it, 15 to 30% better rather than, something brand new you never before seen. Like that's even harder to do. It can be done. There are people in this room trying it right now, which I'm really excited about, but boy is that risky and hard. And it's sort of like I can imagine the little milestone meetings that they may have been having if they were going for that, where they're just like, ah, we like when I used to do that, it was like, well, we haven't found the fun yet. We're still looking for it. We know it's in here, you know. And imagine paying 7-figure salaries while having those meetings and the boards looking at each other, going like, guys, did we make the right choice here? So it's tough, and you know, I personally prefer the, you know, nickel and dime approach, the World of Warcraft approach, if you will, where it's like they didn't revolutionize MMOs, but they took every little quality of life pain point and just made it better. Those do really well.
That's how you come in hot on an episode of Gamified. Appreciate that, Kevin. I lost track of who had the hands. I think it was Jerry next.
Yes, I'm gonna just say it's sad, but it's expected. So my word is was sad. But you know, there's really talented people that made the jump to Netflix that are now on the market. Like I forget the dude's name, but he was like the guy who got brought on to be like the creative director who came from Halo. Like that guy, that is the best example of how tough gaming can be. Because that guy was in charge of some of the coolest shit. Paul maybe knows him, I don't know. But like he
I
was in
worked with
charge
him.
of
That's
what's
Joseph
that?
That's Joseph Staten, I think, right?
Yeah, dude,
Yeah, I
yes,
worked with him
yes.
at MS. He's a great guy.
Fucking incredibly talented, has brought up some of the most innovative new shit into the games industry. And go look at that guy's like 10-year, you know, recent run of things. It's been brutal on him. And that guy can't catch a fucking break. And yet he is one of the best minds that Kevin probably knows in gaming, right? So you know it's unfortunate because you know you had this giant company who wants to take this major step into gaming, and let's not forget that like this is one of 80 studios that Netflix has either bought or spun up, and there's going to be more of these that shut down. And um it you know they have so many things, right? They have the money, they have the audience, they have the distribution networks, but when you just can't find the heart and the soul in something in gaming, it just becomes so painfully obvious. And you know it's a sad thing to see, but I also think like you know I'm a really big fan of boxing, and there's a saying in boxing, and it's that you don't play boxing. And I think that it really applies to gaming, and you can't just play gaming. You can't put together this team of like uber talented individuals and stick them all in a room and guarantee that something good is going to come out on the other side of it. And I think that's just what happened here. They spent a shit ton of money. They got some of the best minds that are around, and they got some of those talented people that they could find and paid them a ton of money to do so. And they still couldn't find it, which I think, you know, we should all take a moment to look at the people who have done so much more than these guys did with so much less, you know? So shout out to some of these guys on the panel who are doing, you know, that exact thing.
Some
J-
teams are greater than the sum of their parts. Others are, I think, worse than the sum of their parts. We've seen this with a lot of super teams in the NBA. Kevin, you wanted to say something at the end there.
I wanted to riff one last thing on what Icy just said. Um, it's like I mean, success does also not necessarily do it for you. Have any of you guys played the game Hi-Fi Rush that came out like a year or two ago? That game was awesome. It was critically acclaimed. It was fresh. It was cool. It was polished. And they shut the studio down, right? And you're like, what happened? Like, why? You know, so it's not all, you know, sometimes it's about the way you go to market. Sometimes it's about the, you know, the cost of operations of your team, right? There's so many factors that go into whether or not, you know, the tough decision to have to close a game or close a studio down. And it's not even just like, is the game gonna rock or not at the helm of that.
Bloodloop in the comments says Netflix is also down right now. I guess that crashed at the same time, which is hilarious timing. Icy also says, dude, I would stay up until 3 a.m. for these intros. The Maestro of Mayhem, the Demon of the Dark Web, he liked Sinjin's intro. Let's go over to Coop and then we'll tag in Wild Paul.
Yeah, the thing I'm wondering is like, did it ever really fit Netflix's goals to have a AAA studio? Like I see them focusing on mobile games, small games that you can play in the platform. Like that makes a lot of sense to me. They're trying to just keep you engaged, keep you there, give you more things to do. You know, maybe move more towards like an everything app, although don't go too far down that. But like a AAA studio, how does that benefit Netflix? I wasn't that clear on that. So maybe it's a bit more of like a product fit to not focus on that for them.
Yeah, it's a great point. I don't know what shape this would be taking, a AAA mobile game, hopefully, because I don't see them expanding into PC very well. Wild Paul, what say you?
Well, my word is frustrated, and also tough love. So you have friends in your life where you're like, yeah, do I actually care enough about that friend where I'm gonna tell them straight, or am I just gonna be like, no, no, dude, good for you, like, yeah, keep going, it's fine. Well, I care enough about my friends who are working at Netflix to give them some tough love. And my message for the execs at Netflix is get your shit together. These are amazing, talented folks that you're bringing on, burning through, and not getting these teams to assemble and produce amazing content, instead shutting them down. I get it more than anyone about how hard game development is. But as you guys are pointing out, Netflix at from the outside has every box checked. They have an incredible distribution network. They have amazing amounts of resources. They have a killer brand, an insane stable of IP, and obviously the ability to attract and bring on great talent. So when they kind of whiff like this, and it's not like this is new. I mean, this has now been going on for a couple of years now. Like I think I pitched a game to Netflix several years ago, if I recall now, and I'm just getting a little frustrated with it. Like, come on, guys. Like it takes commitment. That's my kind of outward, take. If I was again sitting down with a dear friend who's an exec at Netflix, I'd be like, look, you know this, man. You got to stick with it. It's gonna get hard. It's gonna be those moments where you're like, this game isn't working at all. Like, oh my gosh, we brought together this amazing guy from Halo with this amazing guy from whatever, and it turns out they never worked together. So why are they struggling to have a great team and put out a great game? Like, yes, those moments are really hard. Getting a new publisher off the ground, especially multiple new studios, is about the hardest thing you can possibly do. It takes insane levels of commitment. That's where you get games like Halo that were just really a miracle. If you go look at the history of what led to Halo and the commitment that Microsoft needed to show to that studio to make that moment happen, there were several times where they could have shut the studio down, where they could have turned away, but they stuck with it. You had the right people staying committed, fighting the fights where they show up in that boardroom and they're like, "Look, guys, if it's between shutting the studio down that I believe in because you guys don't aren't seeing the results you want, or me, go ahead and fire me because I'm going to stand behind the studio and we're going to make it work." It takes moments like that to bring games like Halo to life. And so when I see these moments, I think, yeah, that was somebody not standing up, not kind of adhering to that commitment, and I'm frustrated by that. It's time for Netflix to stand behind this, to take the incredible advantages they have and turn that into some killer games. And I don't really care if it's existing IP. In fact, that's what I would do if I were Netflix, or new IP, which is great too because they could take some amazing new game and turn that into a show as well. Like they just have so many advantages that the rest of us don't have, and I'm frustrated to see them not making the most of that.
Tell me you wouldn't run through a fucking wall for this dude if he came into his studio and said, "Fire me," instead of axing this game. It reminds me of Seinfeld, one of the shows that I believe is maybe the greatest sitcom of all time. It wasn't until I think season 5 that they actually were like, "Oh, we have something here." It took 4 seasons of them investing in this show, investing in this cast, et cetera, et cetera. And I always think back to like how many shows have been axed before they got to that point? How many games got axed before they could iterate enough to find that perfect gameplay loop? Because imagine investing for 5 years. Imagine being Jerry Seinfeld writing for season 5, and you're just like, man, I think I have something here. And then by season 9, they retire it as literally the most watched show like in America. Period. It's insane what a turnaround it can be after you would imagine it was already a known commodity and already being publicly
That is
broadcast on every
exactly
single.
it. And for those of you who have been on this side of the fence and you've seen the insane commitment it takes, especially in a large company with giant board and all shareholders and everything else that Netflix has, it takes these heroic executives standing up and being like, you know, fire me before you kill this team. It takes those kind of moments, several of them in my experience, to get the greatest games out. And so like when I see this happening, I'm like, okay, well, somebody didn't take that moment, and we won't Netflix won't get there unless they start doing that.
Yeah, so this was all just a way for me to say we need to give Concord 4 more years of development, guys, and I swear it'll turn around. We can right the ship. Let's send it over to Brian to say it's up.
Yeah, it's I have to go after Paul, which is a tough order task to follow. But I think the word for me, and maybe it's the time of year, it's eerie. If a company, one of the largest entertainment companies in the world, with infinite resourcing, infinite distribution, infinite IP to play with, can't figure it out, how the hell are the games in this space going to figure it out? And I think the fact that we have 7 or 8 of the best builders and teams on stage right here doing the damn thing and scaling is pretty freaking remarkable, when I look at the landscape more broadly. But it's just hard and it's difficult, and you need the right people in leadership, to Paul's point, to pull through and push something over the edge where you actually feel like you have something. And sometimes that requires being a bit crazy and insane, when others don't see it. And I think, when we're looking at teams or games, whether it's for investment or interest, I think you have to dig deep on the people behind that and at the top that are driving the ship. Do they have those intangibles? Do they make you want to run through a brick wall? Do they know how to actually organize their resources and teams to make things happen? And I think the fact that we are sort of on this new frontier of blockchain kind of creates this persistence and scrappiness that I think you really need in gaming to succeed and do something different. Netflix, I think, is an unfortunate cautionary tale, probably of the wrong people and not having that heart and soul required, despite sort of the abundance of resources.
Great takes, Brian. I just want to give a shout out to a few people that dropped retweets recently. Yap, we got Dragoon, aka Zach D, AE Mac, Graslow, Shady Sheba, so many of the other people that are here week after week. Doomsday, AFK, AG Dow. Appreciate you guys tremendously for spreading the good word of Gamified. Let's tag in the Titan of Taboo. What's the word for Netflix axing its quote unquote AAA game studio before they released anything?
The word is a little bit disappointing, but like not too surprising in the sense like of whatever like so much of what had been said. I completely agree with what Kevin said, what Paul said, and the rest of the panel. I think just to give some insight is that no matter how big a company is, once you get to a certain size, it is run by executives, and you look at it and you say they have all the funding, they have everything they need, they even hired the right people, even the super, Avenger team. But at the end of the day, when you get to that kind of size, you have executives in the company that have certain KPIs that they're looking at. And like what Paul was saying, like someone who's going to really stand up for it. And it's really hard for executives to do that. And then it does come down to one or two decision makers who are going to say, hey, this is something I'll risk my career for. And that's really difficult. And what differentiates a lot of executives is that in a large company like that, it's so easy to just say, no, it's fine. We're just going to write it off. And then hopefully, the rest of the year, my performance or the performance of our division will be fine. It will just take a little bit of a hit here. But to really put it all on the line, there's this thing where in a large corporation, as an executive in like a fast moving, high pressure situation, not being decisive is the kiss of death. Not making a decision, right? Or, making the easy decision where like this is getting too complex and I don't want to risk my career. So, in that sense, though, like maybe some of us on the panel feel like, okay, well, this is kind of hopeless or whatever. In my way, I think I take it as a positive note in some respects. Not to, have glee in anyone's demise, or especially with obviously the friends of Paul and Kevin and a lot of other people in the industry who have, contributed so much. But this is where the startup or the smaller companies not just are more agile, they have that opportunity. And if you look at every major, trend where there's new technology and yeah, new ideas and stuff like that. It's never the bigger companies that are doing it because of the structure of how the executives are looking at these key performance indicators for their sense of security, no matter how much money they have. And it goes back to like the entire Microsoft thing where, normally Microsoft would always assimilate the, whatever they got into the like, Microsoft brand. And at the time, I believe they said, let's keep it as just Xbox. Let's just go with this new brand and let it have its own identity, and that's a really hard thing to do. And so, yeah, I think it was, in my opinion, a little bit expected because I think they were a little bit out of their lane. And at the end of the day, like, no matter how much experience they have in film production and stuff like that, you don't have the same formulas. You don't have the same way to mitigate risk by having a big star, a certain screenwriter, and stuff like this. It's especially if you're going for a new genre. I mean, at the end of the day, it is all passion.
We've got a bunch of hands still to go through. I'm going to make sure we hit all of them. I'll give you guys 30 seconds each. Real quick, though, I want to read some good comments. Avalanche Gaming 9000 in the comments says Fortnite started as an infinite zombie shooter before they flopped and found product market fit in Battle Royale. Could have easily shut it down and shelved it, but they didn't. And I'll add some context. If you guys didn't know, they're one of the biggest games of all time now. Also, the modern Canadian says, yeah, I'm with you on that. Whenever I first saw gaming on Netflix, my initial reaction was cringe. Dave Schick says they should spin it out of a different brand called Net Games, where you can play a variety of different games, like on Netflix, how you can watch different shows. Then maybe they'll have something, but it would have to be accessible by console and not be the same as Steam slash Epic slash Nintendo. So kind of alluding to the oversaturation in that competitive market. Let's go to Knock, Jerry, and then Oliver in that order. Then we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a few words, Sam, and it's the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles, aka the Dream Team. It's a reminder that you need to build identity, not buy talent and buy identity. And this is the same thing that happened with the Eagles. The Eagles have LaShawn McCoy and Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick. And the question is, are we a defensive team? Or are we a team that runs the ball? Or are we a team that passes the ball better than everybody else in the league? And the answer was, we're none of those three things because we don't have any fucking identity that we've established. Netflix gaming identity is Netflix has games. That's their identity. People don't even know that this is a thing that exists. To their own admission, yes, it's growing. Yes, it's growing slowly, but it still is largely insignificant part of the Netflix portfolio. It is not a major thing. It's not a major piece of what they're building. So to go from, games from third parties in a casual sense on an app that most people don't even know has games all the way to AAA reminds me of Amazon releasing New World, a MMO that looked beautiful and was fun to play, but had 20 hours worth of content in an MMO at launch. I've cut more than 20 hours worth of fucking trees in RuneScape this week alone, right? You need to have some identity before you bring in all of this talent or everything goes to waste. And I don't think it's the fault of the talent. A lot of the times, as Paul and so many others have alluded to, it's the fault of leadership. The Philadelphia Eagles, for example, have Marty Moringer and Juan Castillo. Where are those two guys in the NFL, you might ask? Absolutely fucking nowhere because they had all the talent in the world. They did nothing with it and they got bounced. And I hope the same thing happens to the people who are making decisions for Netflix games. It is a fucking war crime that they brought in the talent that they did, and this thing's already folding before anything is produced. Establish some fucking identity, build from there.
Knock is calling on the Geneva Convention against Netflix. Jesus Christ, I'll raise you a 2011 Philadelphia Eagles with a not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six. The infamous LeBron James quote. How many did they win in Miami? I think it was one. Over to you, Jerry.
That's crazy, dude. I did not expect to be thinking about the 2011 Eagles, but shout out to Knock. I think, like, when they did the announcement of this game and what this game is supposed to be, it was like the most word saladed, like, press release ever of, like, we're building a AAA first person shooter that's multi device and multi platform and all this stuff. And, like, I think when we all read that, we're all just like, dude, just shut the fuck up and make the game, because, like, this doesn't mean anything. And like, Coop said something that was really wise in that, like, Netflix has an entertainment platform that they were wanting to pull people out of to go into a different game when they have the perfect setup to have, like, we talked a lot about companion apps a couple weeks ago, or like companion games to like a Bridgerton or like an Emily in Paris. The IPs are fucking there, right? And the game genres are there to make some of these things successful and like these that can live in two different ways that makes Netflix's portfolio so much more immersive, right? But this concept of pulling at people out of Netflix games to go into a AAA shooter on console or something was really fucking stupid off rip. And I think one thing we haven't really touched on, but like the guy who's the head of Netflix games is Alan Tuscane or something, but he comes from Epic, right? And I think when you're a team that comes from Epic and you're built, and I think he inherited this game too. Like, you come in to seeing a shooter being built, and you just came from the best shooter that's been built over the last several years, or one of the best shooters. And I think, if you're them and you come in, you see like, oh, this thing is half baked, it's bullshit, it has no heart, it has no soul, and we're paying these people millions of dollars a month to not be able to be competitive. I think you see why it got shut down. I hope Netflix can find their identity of what they want to do from gaming, from here, because I think we all see what it is and what it should be, but the fact that the people getting paid all this money, aren't making that choice, and us idiots are over here talking about it, says a lot about the state of Netflix right now.
Yeah, great take, Jerry. I want to give a shout out to Jace Probert in the audience from Moonfrost Games. He says, finally have my work synced up so I can get back to listening to Gamified live. Appreciate you, man. He also adds, right now I'm chopping wood and listening live, and I love it. And he has literally a picture of him chopping wood, physically, not like Knock is chopping wood, I'm sure, while he's on the panel. We'd love to have you up here sometime, Jace. Let's do it in the future soon. Oliver, over to you for the last word on this one, then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to echo all the points that were already mentioned. It feels like not really organic for Netflix to be jumping into gaming. Like the product market fit feels a little bit weird here with a AAA game. Like as Jerry mentioned, they have tons of great IPs. I'm actually surprised they don't have like, maybe it's not companion apps, but even like in show games, as you're watching the show, you're finding this or that, or there's like alternative versions that you can play with. Like there should be something a little more unique and creative here than just like, it feels like what happened at Netflix, and this could be completely wrong, but like 2 or 3 years ago, they're like, "Ooh, gaming's hot. This is the shiny new toy. We need to do gaming because everybody's doing gaming. There's these esports things, and let's just like jump in and buy it, buy the team." As Knock also mentioned here, let's buy the best execs. Let's buy the best. And it just doesn't work. That doesn't happen. You can't just port over great people and expect them to build some great initiative or great game from scratch. Now, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of how that all worked, but I think as a whole, it just feels like this is not the right product market fit. It's sad to see, obviously. It's also unfortunate because I feel like there's a lot of companies out there like a Netflix that could just buy a game studio and just have them operate it. So like there's better ways to do this, it feels like, other than, oh, let's hire these people with the expectation that a game is going to be great in a year and a half or 2 years, and if it doesn't, you know, make cash flow positive signs in the first year or two, then let's dump it. Let's get rid of it. It just feels short sighted to me, and it feels like it was just a new shiny toy for Netflix to kind of like play to. Not to say that any of these people, like I said, the execs or people aren't have extremely illustrious careers and have done incredible things and should be able to do more awesome things. It's just kind of sad to see that Netflix kind of took this route with it, but also at the same time, Netflix, let's get some more original and unique content out there. Like figure out a way to make a game inside of the TV show, or a way to do it on the side, or I mean, heck, I'd even go for like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire TV show edition. Just like throw that up there on the screen for me. That seems more in tune with what your brand is.
Yeah, great points across the board. Man, I didn't expect that to be such an electric topic, but I really enjoyed hearing everybody's takes on that one. We're moving on, though. Off the grid ups its anti cheat. What are the odds that this works? Is the game mode here? Players are reporting that the new anti cheat system does seem to be working, considering there were a lot of complaints about cheaters in game, which seems to now have been dealt with. Question mark? I don't know. I've gotten some mixed reviews, so I don't want to speak too declaratively here. They've also added a bounty system where if you find a cheater, you get a $500 reward, or a new type of cheat, I guess is a more specific way to put that. They also add that this is for PC only. Cheats don't exist on console. Not sure if that's completely true. Maybe some of the panelists can expand on hardware cheats and what that might look like. The game mode here, though, is what are the odds? Give me a percentage that you think this bounty system and their new anti-cheat works as a satisfying solution. So for instance, what are the odds that this actually makes a meaningful impact on the cheating that's happening right now? I give it 80%. That's not really my personal opinion. It's just an example. Let's send it over to Koji Nagata first.
I mean, the odds that this works is like it's hard to say, right? Over time, like right now, I would say that it'll probably work. Let's say 80%, but over time, it's going to degrade. This is a constant battle. This is like anything else. It's like piracy. It's like whatever. Like name your crime, although it's obviously not as serious as a crime. Like this is a slippery slope sort of situation where like over time, people will find a way around it. And to just speak to your point, because I mean, I'm the like fucking dimwit who reads an article on the internet just regurgitates shit, but I literally just read an article about anti cheat and how some of these on PC especially, they use false drivers or like real drivers to like get to the kernel level of Windows, and then like bypass certain securities. And in order to to access like kernel level stuff, you need things signed by Microsoft, and there's a whole vetting process in which to do that. And so it's a lot harder to install these cheats, let's just say, on an Xbox or a PlayStation, because you just can't really get kernel level access in that same way. So a lot of like the bot, or like not so much the botting, but the wall hacks and whatever, and seeing what other players see is much more difficult. Um, but that being said, this is not new to off the grid or to any game, right? I think that anyone who has played a shooter in their life just knows that this is par for the course. This is just what life is when you play these games. And so I think that anyone making a game, everyone on this panel, if there's any incentive, and even if there's not, people just want to say that they're best because they're fucking losers or whatever, will cheat at your shit, right? So we all have to kind of contend with it in one way or the other. And it's not about beating them, it's about trying to stay ahead of them.
Very well put succinctly at the end there. I want to tag in Oliver Maroney again, and then we'll get some context here from Coop.
Uh, cheaters are inevitable in a good game. I think that's just like my general thought here. Every shooter I've ever played has some level of cheater to it, and like COD had this problem for 3 or 4 years. And cheaters would go away, they'd do waves of bans, then they'd come back with new cheats. There's also hardware like a Cronus Zen, where you can kind of plug it into your controller and it kind of like aim locks. There's like a bajillion different things out there, and these cheat companies make millions of dollars creating these hardware pieces, software to try and like do this. And so I would actually say, look, I know this sounds bad. This is somewhat of a compliment that there's cheaters, because people actually give a shit. And that's like a good sign, in my opinion, that like a game in Web3 has some level of care to the point where people are actually trying to like gamify it. Oh wow, look at that. But yes, that's my general
Did
point.
you
There's
just
cheaters
snap
everywhere.
for yourself?
Huh?
Was that sound you snapping in satisfaction of your joke?
That was a snap. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I was satisfied with that. I did not plan this. I do not have a script, and that was, hey, I'm giving myself a pat on the back, and I'm not going to make this awkward like I did last show. Um, but yeah, generally speaking, there's cheaters in every game. COD has this problem. Literally today, I could boot up COD and I will have a cheater in a game. Uh, I'd say a 1 in 10 chance that there's a cheater in a game. They've gotten better about banning. You can send a report pretty instantaneously. The player actually gets removed. There's some really funny clips around cheaters in games. So long story short, I guess what I'm trying to say is this is inevitable. It will happen. People will complain about it, and they will try and iterate. And as Koji said, if you can try and beat them to the game, that can help you in the long run. And I think as long as they're trying to take uh, educated guesses and fixes to put these things in place to remove some of these cheaters, they're doing the best that they can, and everybody should give them props for kind of the things that they've done. And I would give the percentage right now probably 90%, and then in 2 or 3 months maybe it goes down to 50 and they bump it back up and they figure out other ways to remove the cheaters. So it's going to keep coming up.
As a quick aside, Jordan Feinstein in the audience says, pouring one out for all of my homies who are sometimes on Gamified, but not on today, as Sam repeatedly says that this is the best panel they've ever had. I'm sorry, guys. I love everybody who ever comes on the show. I don't know. It feels different today. It feels a little different.
He just loves us more, though, just so you know.
It's two things could be true. Coop, over to you.
That's amazing. Yeah, both of the guys have already said a lot of what I was thinking. I'd give it an 80% for now, and then it's like kind of like whack-a-mole over time. There's going to be new cheats, new ways that people abuse the platform, and they're going to have to keep on it. But to Oliver's point, like nobody cheats in games that nobody cares about. And also, I think maybe this is a conversation because we haven't had that many shooters or that many competitive games in the space where like cheating is very obvious, but like everyone bots the fuck out of the play to earn games, right? Like it's just a constant problem, and it will continue to be a problem. And the only reason that we're talking about it is because they've had some level of success, and people are, eager to make sure that it is still successful in the next 6 months.
Shady Shiba in the audience adding, of course, people care about off the grid as cheaters. They can earn money by cheating. One of the points that somebody brought up already, though, which is you can earn money by cheating previously because if you create interesting cheats and people want to win at that game, they can buy your cheat. However, I do remember this was one of the biggest knocks on Shrapnel. Having an extraction shooter that rewards people with money for being the best just creates this incentive loop that is a little bit scary, and I don't know if anybody has like strictly solved it yet. So I wanted to make sure that we had this discussion. Let's tag in Jerry, then we'll go to Knock and then Sinjin.
Yeah, I think you'll see a reduction like beyond 80% in the amount of cheats that are happening, but I think that's going to be really short lived, and I think cheating just in gaming is in such a such an interesting place, and I want to use like two examples. The one game that I always laugh, and I use this example a lot when we talk about these guys cannot solve the cheating problem in their game, and it's Duolingo. People cheat in a massive way on Duolingo of all fucking apps, an education app for language that has no money to it. It just makes you feel like shit, like because the icon when you don't do it for 4 days looks at you in a sad with a sad face, on your home screen, and you're just like, people cheat. They cannot solve the cheating problem in Duolingo, and it's fucking crazy to me, right? And there's nothing to that. And so for all these games that have financial components or competitive moments, like I don't want to bring up a traumatic moment for Paul to have a conversation we spoke of recently, but like what was happening in the chess tournaments? What were people doing, to win at in-person chess? Like cheating is just always going to be a problem. I think AI makes this so much scarier though, right? I wrote a thread a while ago on like the MSI monitor for League of Legends. They developed a whole fucking monitor that scans the map and it will warn you when you're about to get ganked in League of Legends. So I think this is a problem that's just like not going to go away. I think AI can help it in a lot of ways, but I think AI is going to help people who want to cheat at games. So I really commend the team for addressing like cheating this early on in their roadmap and their product delivery cycle. But I think that they'll see some short term success. But if they continue to do well, it's just going to get worse and worse.
Dave Schick says, like my dad says, it's not cheating, it's using all resources available. I love that chime in. Dave is going to win the first $100 of my own money. He's been going ham in the comments, gave us a retweet, big supporter of the show. I got another $100 of my own money I'm giving out to anybody that retweets us. Drop great comments. I'll give it out in the second half. Wild Paul, I know I already said I was going to go to Sinjin. Sinjin, I'm sorry. Wild Paul knows the way you skip the line is by throwing a thumbs down out there. Hit Jerry with it.
Actually, I had my hand up earlier, and Twitter took it down for me without me doing anything. So to be fair, I think I was in line earlier, but I had a couple takes here. So for my thumbs down, just to give that context, actually AI is in some ways the best solution to this, because and I'm actually really excited about anti-cheat AI plugins and products that people are building. AI can detect behavior that doesn't seem human. And I don't mean like, oh, this person is tracking and aiming too well, because like it's hard to track that stuff on a moment to moment basis. But I mean just general patterns. Like this user who, has logged in this much and has played this much is exhibiting behavior patterns in terms of how much they're winning that does not seem like what a normal human user would be doing, and start to flag those users. And the AI models for that kind of stuff are going to get better and better at detecting and distinguishing human-like versus non-human-like player behaviors. The other thing is, I just wanted, so that was my thumbs down. Actually, I think AI is a better solution than a problem here, even though it is just like basically everything in the future, just going to end up being AI versus AI. That's fine, and we're all just sitting back as cows chewing grass, watching the AIs have all the fun. But the thing I want to say is just a little bit of a historical. I've been fighting cheating in games since I first joined Ensemble Studios and was the network engineer on Age of Empires. There's actually two primary types of cheating in games. There's the user getting information that they shouldn't be able to get, and then there's the user taking actions they shouldn't be able to take. We actually built Age of Empires with a network model that that somehow magically, not somehow, but it's like this thing that still holds up today where you can't cheat in terms of taking actions you can't be able to take in Age of Empires, because the way that that game works is every game client is actually simulating the actions of every other game client, every other user. So if one user tries to do something they shouldn't be able to do, the other machine is going to be like, you couldn't do that, and just like it throws an out of sync error. It's like, sorry, that's not possible in the game. But there was no way for us to avoid hidden information cheats, like a user, removing the fog of war and stuff like that. That second category is nearly impossible to combat, except with like driver level stuff and OS level stuff, which is getting better because of like the progress that happens in the antivirus world and that technology kind of finding its way over to AI. So taking that all back to the original point, I think it's just going to hover around 70, 80%. It's an ongoing battle for every game. Off the Grid has it harder because they're a client server game, and those games don't have the kind of out of sync protection stuff that some peer to peer games do in multiplayer. But it's an ongoing battle. AI is going to help make it better. But we're never going to solve hidden information hacks until we install chips in people's eyeballs that detect whether they're doing something. Because there's like literally no way to figure that out on the server side that somebody's doing that, except, like I said, if they start to exhibit behaviors that say a 13-year-old living in this state doesn't generally win this much kind of stuff, and AI is trying to detect that. So there is some silver lining there.
I love a good silver lining. Shout out to Oliver. He just I pinned up one of his quote tweets. He sent me. Dexerto, literally, as we're discussing this, released a tweet saying a new study on anti-cheat revealed that cheat makers are making tens of millions of dollars every year, and points out a
Oh,
CS:GO hack.
I had to point out too, because you were it was talking about Duolingo. Did you know that Strava has cheaters? Like, so, and the thing is, and I love
Kidding.
it. Yes, I love that somebody made this point. The fact is, cheating and the desire to cheat is so permissive, and every game I've ever worked on, it's just an ongoing battle. It just becomes part of your budget, and that's without the incentives. So it frankly is terrifying, the games that have financial incentives tied to cheating. Like, I don't even know how you could fight that battle.
Yeah, it's a great point. That was Jerry that made the Duolingo point. I actually wanted to mention something on that as well. Snapchat has something called Snap Streaks, where basically you prove how great your friendship is with these people by snap streaking with them, by sending every single day you Snapchat each other. And this is such a thing that people monitor their status on, that people literally will go on like Facebook groups and find strangers to create Snapchat streaks with. And Snapchat realized how powerful this desire was, but sometimes you're like in another country and you lose your snap streak, whatever. So they allow you now to buy the ability to resume your Snapchat streak so that you can prove falsely now that you have in fact talked to somebody every fucking day. The whole thing is bizarre to me. It makes me hate
It's not
this
bizarre
world.
though. All free to play designers know that status is even more valuable than money to a lot of users.
God, dude, that one just sent me off like a cliff of like we're down bad in this world. Let's go over to Sinjin the Titan of Taboo.
I think kudos to them to react quickly. I think putting in whatever level of anti cheat they put in first, obviously covers like low hanging fruit of the fact that maybe they didn't have much of anti cheat at the beginning. So it's definitely a good first step. But I think this really highlights that in our field specifically, especially if your token is minted through your game and you may you're trying to manage your economy, that you have to get to as much as 100% as possible, because you just need to. And I guess the example I would give obviously is at Poker Stars, where for all intents purposes, right, we're a completely open economy. It's real money, poker. And other than like trying to get hacked constantly, maybe like 20 times a day by like, super genius Russian hackers, which is true, like literally every single day. The amount of collusion, the amount of like other types of software that we have to like ban, and we're server side. I think every real money gaming app has to be server side. Like if you do a client side and you're sending in like information, like you just totally fuck the entire game anyways. But at Poker Stars, there was, besides all like the regular hacking tools and so on and so forth, the biggest thing was player reports, because before you get an idea of like what the standard deviation is like for like normal play for certain types of players, what was really amazing were that some players intuitively, because they played poker so much, were like, that person's cheating. And an analyst would go and they would look at that person's, like, log files and play sessions and stuff like that, and they'd be like, this person doesn't look like they're cheating. But like after like 8 months of data, then we can like track it. And then on a standard deviation, they're definitely an outlier. But like players were able to identify them a lot quicker. So I think having a bounty program helps a lot, but it is a complete uphill battle. But it's constant. So as a real money poker game, when we're making like $1 billion a year, our core dev team didn't change. Like they were at like whatever, like 40, 50 people. But our securities team kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we kept on hiring, right? As, every single aspect of, defining like how a player plays at this particular limit, what IP are they from, and slotting them into certain player personas. And then also looking at like, is this person an outlier or nothing or anything like this, right? Um, and I think one way for any of the panelists who are doing this is, really you have to track every single aspect of how a player plays, right? Sessions, even like what weapon types they're using, how much damage are they doing per game, and get so visceral and then be able to understand how that player plays in a game that's normative behavior. The problem though is like for other like games where they're very incentive focused, the normative behavior is cheating. And so like you can't figure out, what is actual like proper gameplay, um yeah, behavior. And so if you end up, doing your TG and you're launching and you're expecting now to kind of figure out like on what basis are people actually cheating when like there's not this airdrop incentive and people are actually playing for real, you've basically stepped into a situation where you're going in blind and you could end up just getting fleeced on your first week and then your game's dead. So like I mean like this cheating thing is like, I would say, to be honest, like even for us, we're probably going to devote like for our live ops 80% of our, development budget and our staffing just to make sure that we can lock this down, that if something happens that within a 24-hour period, we can take that learning. And the biggest thing though, too, gentlemen and ladies out there is, once you find out how people cheat, you don't write a press release and you say, hey, in this development, we figured out how people cheat and they cheat this particular way. And so this is the fix that we did. No, you never do that. You just say you were banned for whatever reason for, going into the TOS and goodbye, and let the scammers try to figure out what they're doing. Because we've even seen in our game, we've got like 25,000 new signups in the last like week, right? Because thank you Zion Arbitrum for funding all these KOLs. But these guys who signed up, oh my god, I just want to like shoot half of them at least, because they're just destroying our game because they're trying to farm certain points, and so they're incentivized not to win, but to get kills or to like get like longer sessions or whatever like this. But like it does definitely affect you, and having an open economy, you guys will definitely need to make this a top priority, because even like at 10%, and you get fleeced one day, you could just kill your entire economy.
Great stuff from the Titan of Taboos. Jonah chiming in with a great comment. He says, Sinjin, the problem is all games are real money games now because everyone wants to be a content creator paid on social media. Interesting context there. I know Knock has a ton of experience in this. I'm going to see if he has a word for that. And also, Knock, what are the odds that this OTG patch works for fixing the hacker problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a bunch of people have said, probably very high in the beginning, and it's an ongoing battle. I mean, find me a millennial gamer who says that they haven't used the Game Shark or boosted their prestige level of Call of Duty, and I'll find you a liar. I think this is something that has existed for so long in so many games that it if it could have been solved, it would have been solved by now. There are a couple of ways that teams try to approach solving cheating in games. One of which, and probably the most intrusive level, is used by Call of Duty Warzone and Riot Games pretty much across their entire ecosystem, which is the kernel level anti-cheat that somebody earlier mentioned. This is like the highest level of permission on your computer. Oftentimes it operates at a higher level of permission than you do on your own, private computer. And to Riot's own admission, over the course of the last 4 years, they have banned on average one cheater every 37 seconds for 4 years straight. So they have the highest level of intrusive type of anti-cheat, and they're still banning cheaters at that insane rate, it's something that people are always going to find a way to get around. The other piece is it's really tricky to manage cheating in games because a lot of the times cheating in games look much worse, or it looks much worse than it actually is, because a lot of studios will operate in ban waves. And part of the reason for this is it gives less information to the people who are building these cheats about what sort of things might be giving them away. Pirate Software is a guy, a Twitch streamer who talks about this a lot, but he talks about his times at Blizzard, how when he was working on World of Warcraft, rather than ban cheaters as they found them, they would often monitor those accounts for 2 or 3 or 4 months, get enough accounts that follow similar patterns, and ban them all at once because it stops the cheat developers from figuring out, what is giving us away, what sort of things do we need to change within our own cheating program in order to kind of go undetected. The other piece is depending on the type of game that you're playing in, a lot of the times there's quite a bit of damage that you can do to non-cheating players by dealing with cheaters in the sense of like a MMORPG. When you're playing something like Old School, the game I know best, a lot of the times they allow cheaters or people who have hacked accounts to kind of get away with it for a couple of reasons. One, Old School's built on fucking spaghetti code, so rolling back code affects the entire server rather than just individual people. And they've opted to say, hey, in the case of like item duping, we'll go through something like a rollback. But in the case of you've got scammed or somebody hacked into your account, they're not really going to deal with it because it affects the entire ecosystem. Um, the last piece that I think is really important is that even on LAN, cheating exists. I have been to a dozen different tournaments where on live location, on computers that are set up by the organization or the organizers of the tournament, or the actual developers of the game themselves, in the case of Riot Games, people have either installed software cheats or somehow gotten hardware cheats onto particular devices that have allowed them to cheat on location at a sanctioned, organized event. Listen, if you can cheat on location with cameras everywhere and 100,000 people watching you, you can fucking cheat anywhere. I don't think that this is anything that ever goes away. We're going to continue to get better at identifying these cheats, but I think part of the problem as well is that most of the time the people creating the cheats are just more creative than the people who are trying to detect it. I think it's since been debunked, but there was a story not too long ago about a man, I believe his name was Hans Niemann, who beat Magnus Carlsen in a chess match. And the theory was that he had vibrating anal beads to tell him when to make particular moves. I'm like, that level of creativity just doesn't come from the other side.
Comes from the underside.
Yeah.
I love this topic. It's been a great discussion. I'm gonna let Dub, who's coming from the audience, give us one statement, and then we got to move on because we're running late on the show agenda. We've got so many fucking awesome topics. Dub, a quick statement.
Yeah, I'll go quick. I just wanted to speak to my time at Shrapnel with it because I've been leading anti-cheat for better or worse here at Shrapnel ever since the start. And it's just fucking wild. You end up with a ton of reports of all these different things saying, oh, this guy's using this or this guy's using that. You try to find patterns like what Knock was saying. That's so you can finally figure out in the weeds of all this data, like what are the true cheaters and what are just the guys that are running like in it something to give them a little bit of an advantage that's not necessarily cheating. It gets so in the freaking grains. And it was so disheartening going from launching our game. I still remember this night to hopping on YouTube, and the first stream I'm seeing is a guy running wall hacks and selling the wall hacks. It was the most disappointing fucking thing in my life in Web3 gaming. And it was at that point that I realized that no one has the perfect solution for this or nowhere near a good solution for this. And at the same time, it is all real money gaming. And we need to be doing this at the level that Sinjin has described with how he handled it with poker and everything there. And it's consistently disappointing that no one is doing it, but also props off the grid. I played yesterday to get a feel on how many hackers are out there or anything like this, and I didn't run into a single one. So I think what they're doing is great. Player reporting is really what adds strength to this entire thing. It's what really worked for us and what helped us curb the cheaters also by incentivizing them by lowering rewards.
Great stuff, Dub. Great to get that experience firsthand from you. And you would imagine that, especially in a battle royale, it would at least curb the problem a little bit. Because in one lobby, if a cheater is that obvious, you're gonna have 60 people reporting it at once. And if you get that kind of validation, it's pretty easy to say, well, obviously they're cheating if everybody in the lobby agrees. With that being said, it's time to give a massive shout out to the true MVP behind the scenes, Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. While others are busy banging their heads against the wall trying to make their blockchains work, Avalanche has cracked the code with AVAX 9000, making deploying your own layer one smoother than ever before. But why stop at just a blockchain when you can have your very own with Avalanche? You're not just playing someone else's game, you're setting the rules. It's not just a pipe dream, this is a reality. The Maple Story, solo leveling, T1 esports, off the grid, Shrapnel, and more are already living. They're creating their own custom tailored gaming experiences on their own AVAX L1s, free from the usual developer headaches. Thanks to Avalanche for being the official blockchain of Gamified. And one more before we get to Pokemon Pocket, which I know a lot of people are excited to talk about. As we reach the midway point of our galactic mission, it's time to highlight an essential part of your gaming arsenal. It's StarNet. StarNet is the next generation ad network powering $100 billion spent every single year on user acquisition. If you're looking to do user acquisition in mobile games, Android or iOS, StarNet can boost you into the spotlight. Thank you to StarNet for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. Now, TCGs get even more saturated with Pokemon Pocket launching today. The game mode here is Crack the Code. Help me understand how we can fight against these Goliaths. For those who haven't heard yet, it's the latest mobile TCG from Pokemon, which is described as free to start. This game brings the classic Pokemon card game to mobile, offering free daily booster packs, shorter battles, exclusive new cards. Players can collect digital cards featuring nostalgic artwork and 3D style illustrations. The game also introduces a trading system in various battle modes, allowing solo play, quick matches with friends, etc., etc. Whenever there's such saturation in a market combined with pre-existing intellectual property that allows for easier user acquisition and stickiness, how do you compete in this arena? I subbed this in last minute because A, it just released, and B, we've got parallel coin games, and then I don't, some people call wild card a trading card game as well, so wild paul throw you into that category. But I'm super curious how you guys approach this, and I want to be clear, existing IP doesn't always mean it's an end all be all victory. We saw Gwent with The Witcher get absolutely slapped down despite having a lot of firepower. But how do you begin to approach a problem solve like this? Koji, over to you first, man.
I mean, I might be in the minority here, but I don't really see it as a problem. This might be a broken record take, but I think that like people need inroads to this stuff, and TCGs especially are a very niche category of game. It's not like a shooter in that like anyone who's never played a shooter can kind of pick up, understand what the hell you're supposed to be doing, and then jump into it. Whether or not they're good or not doesn't matter. TCGs are a much different beast. Like there's a whole lot of reading that you got to do and memorizing before you can even really start to understand the game, and that's why the learning curve in the beginning is so steep. So I view these things as like, uh, especially with something like Pokemon, as like an inroad to bringing players into the space as opposed to like something that we need to battle against or as competition. Because like as I tell people all the time, like I enjoy card games. I don't just play parallel, and I enjoy roguelikes. I don't just play Isaac. I'll literally try almost any of them out there that seem interesting. Right. So I think card gamers are the same. If you enjoy that niche, you play them all. Like if you follow Tyler and Fino and any of the creators that are playing our game, you see they routinely will play like One Piece and a bunch of this other stuff. So I think it's like actually important to have this stuff out there, and it's not necessarily a competition. I also want to shout out no free ads or whatever, but I want to shout out there's a game called The Bazaar that is in closed beta now. It was also a card game, but I think that like I mentioned them because like that is actually something that is interesting to me, and like whether or not that's competition is a different story because they're trying to build something new and edge out a space for themselves. Pokemon already has a space. It's not as if um, I'm that would be like me fighting Mike Tyson, right? But some new IP, that's a different story. Like maybe who knows? Anyway, I'm ranting at this point, but I do think that it's like an inroad for people, and it's not necessarily competition.
Dude, yeah, the Bazaar closed beta begins today. Dude, I remember this from, wow, 2015, 2016, because I was a huge fan of the streamer Raynad back in the Hearthstone days. And this is a game that I believe he co-founded with Tempo Storm, his esports organization. Really cool gaming mechanics here. I want to send it over to Dub for his takes. I know he's already been playing the Pokemon TCG. Then we're going to tag in Kevin Lambert from Coin Games.
Yeah, I discovered the Pokemon TCG 8 p.m. last night and ended up playing until 4 a.m. in the
Bro,
morning. Phone almost died. I echo a ton with what Koji's sentiment. Like, I view it as also a very nice inroad into crypto itself. Like, I feel like this is a crypto game without crypto, and just will be a very good like value proposition for those Web 2 gamers as they discover what's cool about Web 3 and everything there in an existing IP they already know and love. And the way that I'm approaching this is that I've now written a full case study on the game with screenshots, recordings, and all of that kind of stuff that I'm proliferating to the teams that I'm working with and highlighting that these guys have really made a blueprint for what the UI, the UX, the feel of digital pack openings to playing the game towards collecting and displaying and all of that should be. And it's a freaking work of art. Like I really think this is, as I said, it's a great place for games that are kind of lost in their UI UX, their design thing. Like I'm thinking a lot about Soulforge, Sam, in your comments about how it felt like, you know, it's an old Nintendo 64 game. And when I go and play this new Pokemon TCG app, it's like, hey, this is what new games should feel and look like. And from the haptic feedback to the pack opening experience, I'm just freaking blown away by the whole thing. I can't stop talking about it. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, it's really a thing to look at and to rip great foundational elements and stuff on it because they did a hell of a job here.
great take, Dub. I appreciate that. And yeah, just to be clear about my Soulforge comments, I want to love this game. I'm a huge Magic the Gathering guy. I've been playing TCGs for 30 years now. But for the love of God, it looks like it was made on Nintendo 64. Kevin Lambert, over to you.
Hey, thanks. Uh, First, I want to say free to start. Oh, the marketing genius that came up with that tagline. If that isn't just putting it right on the sleeve, I don't know what is. That's awesome. Also, have to throw out a shout for the Bazaar. That game looks awesome. Been watching that, and we got their art director
Oh,
working
sick.
for us now. So that was exciting. He jumped ship, I guess 6 months or so ago. Yeah, the IP conversation is really interesting, and I think Sam, we talked a little bit about this when we were showing you a little behind the curtain recently. But you know, like if you catch a new IP in a TCG and it hits, it's just gonna like it's like 10 or 2, right? It's polarizing. Either you nail it and it's beloved by all, or it just like I can't play this because I just don't. It doesn't resonate with me. Like it's a really polarizing play. And when we were looking for our IP and having that conversation specifically, we were like, yeah, should we go talk to Disney and look at some of their top IPs? You know, so we just knocked that piece out of the park. And what we actually settled on something that's a little more in the middle, which you guys will see this when we come out of stealth a little later this week, actually in a couple of days. But our IP is a hybrid of, you know, instant emotional connection with names and characters, you know, be, but our take on them because these characters exist in the public domain. And we didn't realize quite how high and how large that space was. But it makes total sense when you think about like, just take the character Thor and Odin and then look at how they are portrayed in like the Marvel Avengers universe and then look at how they are portrayed in God of War, the you know the video game. They're very different, right? And the reason they can do that is because those characters are free. They're in the public domain and you can envision them however you want. So if you want to make Thor a drunk father, like you can do that, right? Or make him a badass, you know, immortal lightning striking hammer throwing guy, right? So we're leaning into that as a really interesting bridge hybrid between going full unique IP and going never before seen IP, and yet to see how well that will work. I've seen a few other studios try it um, to varying degrees of success. So you know we'll see how we come out. But I haven't played the new Pokemon. I've heard a lot of great talk about it, though. It immediately went onto my list. I'm probably going to try it out tonight. Curious if anyone else here has played it, and is it great? But I do want to echo what Dub said about the UI UX. I think that is the most important thing for any TCG, and so many games have whiffed on that. Or that they come out of the gate, they may have excellent mechanics. Their UI UX is a little weak, and the games that nail that just have such a lead, right? Because then they get to work on the easier stuff. That's actually the hardest part to get right, and it's also in my DNA to make sure and get that part right. So I enjoy solving that particular problem.
Yeah, I'll say I haven't had time to actually get to the point where I'm creating a deck and playing the actual game of battling another player in this Pokemon TCG. But I have gone through the user onboarding the first like 10 or 15 minutes, and it is masterful how many excuses they come up with to give you new packs to open. And you keep like running out of packs to open, so you're about to leave the app, but then they're like, "Oh, you like farted? Oh, here's another pack. Oh, you like accidentally hit a thing with your thumb. Here's another pack." And they just keep feeding you until you're like, "Oh man, opening packs is really fun, guys. I think I should just keep opening pack." It's like they're not afraid to give you that free dopamine for long enough to actually get you into the cycle. And so often I think in free to play games they do that. Oh, here's like 2 gems and you open one chest and then back in the gameplay loop, and it's just not enough now to stand out to get people to actually like psychologically get over that hump of like, I'm going to buy this thing myself now. Let's send it over to Wild Paul, then we'll go to Knock.
Yeah, actually, you just kind of made my point, Sam. Like, we've been actually on Wildcard deconstructing this game. That's a kind word for carefully evaluating and looking at everything they're doing and ripping off all the things that we love the most about it. We all do that, right? In the game industry, it's just a part of the business, and they're standing on the shoulders of giants that have come from before them too. So it's fine. But anyway, yeah, like you just said, it is a masterclass in elevating the visceral joy of interacting with digital cards and digital card packs. Like just absolutely top notch. The way I look at this is kind of in two buckets, because you called me out at the beginning of this segment like, well, how do we think about this as far as wild card? There's sort of like two paths here. You can look at it as building a pure TCG, which clearly this game is, and games like Parallel and Hearthstone and Magic are. Um, but you can also look at it as a set of beloved mechanics, meaning like distributing random elements via cards and card packs and collecting cards and building a binder, a deck of cards, and then putting that in a totally different genre. So something like Inscription, for instance, which is one of my favorite card games, or Balatro, actually, recently, as another example of this, that like totally merges that with a different set of mechanics, like in that case, roguelikes, and ends up with something that we wouldn't call a TCG, but is definitely taking advantage of a lot of beloved TCG uh, kind of mechanics. That's more the case for Wildcard. So Wildcard is not a game that we would call a TCG. It's obviously it's aiming for a much broader audience. It's an action game with strategy elements, but it leverages beloved TCG mechanics such as receiving rewards as cards, opening card packs, building decks, those kind of things, which, as it turns out, can fit in a lot of games and can make a lot of games even better, like roguelikes, like I was talking about earlier. And in our case, I hope, games like, action MOBA strategy games like what Wildcard is. And that's certainly been the case as we've, as we've slammed those two genres together. But when it comes to like building pure TCGs, I think what we've seen and continue to see is that there's an endless kind of landscape of innovation that still can happen when it comes to TCGs. And so those out there looking at the Pokemon and at the Pokemon TCG and being like, well, that's it, TCGs are over. Like, of course not. There's an endless number of amazing TCGs yet to be built that might take advantage of existing IP, like in the case of Marvel Snap. And I remember us all being fanatics for that for 5 minutes, or something like Hearthstone or Magic. Like Magic is actually a great example because Magic the Gathering came after Pokemon, the original card game, as you guys know. And what I've heard from the folks who were there at the beginning is their kind of core thesis was, we actually are older people now and we wish we could still play Pokemon, but it's a little embarrassing. So we're gonna make a card game that isn't as embarrassing for us to play with our friends, and that was like part of the original thesis for why Magic succeeded. Is it was like Pokemon for people who didn't want to look like they were playing a kid's card game anymore. And I just think that there's that opportunity that because this is just a truly evergreen genre. So don't be scared about if you're working on another TCG. Oh gosh, Pokemon just sucked the air out of the room. No, it didn't. As Koji was saying, it's just a tide that's rising all boats and making this genre even more popular and more accessible to everyone.
I love that take. Let's send it over to Knock. Knock, what do you think about this Pokemon TCG? And can you crack the code on how to compete?
Yeah, I think that this is a net positive for the space as a whole. It is a very easy way to get people on board and familiar with the world of TCGs. I think like when you're a kid, at least for me personally, when I was a kid, I was too smooth brained to understand how to play the game to begin with because it's a relatively complex game for a child to understand the actual card game itself. I was limited by the number of packs that I could open. Once per week we would go to the store, I'd get a pack, I'd open the cards. My parents would be pissed off at the fact that we got to store those cards in the house. It was a chaotic thing growing up, but I loved it. Now I'm an adult with adult money, and you're telling me I can open and virtual packs. I don't have to store shit. I understand how to play the game now because I've got a semi-functioning brain. It's so easy for people to want to download this game, get involved, rip packs. Man, me and my friends, we grew up together. We're 30 years old. Last night at like 2 3 a.m, we were sending each other screenshots of the cards that we pulled from our digital packs. It was fucking incredible. It was the closest thing to the start of Pokemon Go that I've felt on a mobile game since Pokemon Go. I think it's a really good way to bring people into the space, learn a little bit about TCG, learn some transferable skills, because even though many TCGs operate differently from one another, things like setting up your deck and making sure that you know how to set up attacks properly and target priority, these are things that are transferable, whether you're playing this watered down version of Pokemon or you're playing parallel. A lot of the skills that you learn when you're learning from maybe the Pokemon Pocket game is transferable to something like parallel. And I think it can be seen as a gateway. I don't think you ever compete on IP with something like Pokemon. It's ridiculous. They basically sell us the same different game with a slightly changed map every single year, and we buy it every single year. You're never going to compete with that type of power. But I think having a giant come in, bringing in a distilled version of their original game, allowing people to maybe get excited from the nostalgia of ripping packs and maybe trying out a game that they didn't really understand as kids, is a good way to open their eyes to the world of TCGs. I don't think this is competitive in any capacity to some of the bigger ones. If anything, I think this is a net positive. I think people will try this game out, realize that, hey, this style of game is a lot of fun. Maybe this is for me, and they'll try other TCGs down the line. I don't think you need to compete. I think this is a good thing.
Let's go to Brad DeSanto, then Koji's up next.
I think this is less of a commentary on TCGs and more on maybe mobile gaming, but it just shows you the value in a high quality Fatui and that first time user experience. I think all of us commented, when I downloaded the app and I started playing it, I was instantly fucking transported to being like 10 years old and going to Wizards of the Coasts and stealing $6 from my dad and buying 2 packs and having that experience. Like, it's a pretty transformative and transportive experience, and you get it immediately. And I don't think anybody up here is going to replicate the Pokemon IP and 30 plus years of nostalgia. But what I think we can do is start to think about how do we get people into our games faster and give them things of interest sooner. And that doesn't have to be tokens. It can be items of clout or status or personality that happen to be on chain and maybe can be traded at some point. And I think that's where blockchain really starts to differentiate itself. So for me, that's really the big takeaway. It's how do we design experiences that are easier to participate in, easier to start owning things in, and get people to have those emotional connections, from minute 5, not from minute, 140, because I do think it is sort of the key to that stickiness, and we're seeing it from everybody on the panel.
Great context there, Koji. And then I see a few hands up. We got to go quick so we can get to another topic.
Yeah, I'll be real fast. I think that Paul, this is like a broken record thing, but I think Paul's got it spot on as well. Like, um, the experience of ripping packs, that dopamine is like so important, right? The reason why I think Parallel took off when it did in the beginning, before we even had a game, before we had anything, was that when you were minting our NFTs, you were buying them. We didn't just send them to your wallet. there was like a whole pack opening experience where you had to like sift through and see what you got, and like people were watching it together and whatever. And like I implore anyone here who's making a game to watch streamers play TCG Simulator. I think I talked about this last week or whatever, but it's truly like methadone for pack rippers, man. Because like half the people playing that game aren't playing the game; they're just ripping packs open, and like that's just true in real life too. You know, like I know that Kalos loves rare Pokemon cards and rare Magic cards. He hasn't played Magic in years, but he still buys boxes and boxes of cards and rips them open, chasing that rare shit, right? And the lesson here isn't, it has nothing to do with TCGs, and maybe just has to do with, if you're using NFTs in your game, how you're integrating those NFTs, or just the collectibles in general, right? It's like, how do we give these things to players? How do we feed them so they want more of it, if that's your business model, right? And it might be not just earning them, but giving them the ability to, like, once they've earned whatever it is, rather than just giving them an NFT, maybe they open a crate, and inside that crate is some random shit, and it's like, whatever, you know, like, let them pull that slot machine handle, you know. And I think that that is maybe a lot of the lesson here. And I will say the one thing that I'm like super jealous of, I will never play a Pokemon game because I think Pokemon is terrible and the worst IP of all time, as you all know. But like, uh, uh, the pack opening experience in this newest game is fucking crazy. It's crazy, right? And that's what sells it. Forget about everything else. You rip one of those packs and you're like, fuck it, I'm in. You know, so that's the lesson.
Yeah, Shady Shiba in the comments also pointing out something I noticed, I think around pack number 4, is I accidentally flipped the pack arounds. And if you flip the pack arounds, whenever you rip the pack open, every card that you open, you get the back first, and then you get the experience of flipping the card right. Oh God, it's so good. How did they do it? I'll give 30 seconds each. Lems, Jerry, and Dub in that order. Lems, over to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just jump off what Bright had there. I played a Web3 game recently, and I've been playing it for probably a week now, and I haven't moved past level one, and that is like such a terrible, terrible experience. Like you need some of these like things that hook you. Honestly, if I didn't hold some of the NFTs, I probably would have just turned from the game and not. But because I hold some of the NFTs, I'm like, oh, I'll give this thing, some entertainment. Like I'll give it a whirl and see if I actually like stick to it. And that should not be the reason at all that you should be sticking to a game. Like give me some of that dopamine hit. Like anyone who's building a game in Web3, it feels like should go and play this Pokemon Pocket, even if it's not a TCG, just to learn from some of that experience because you want people who are excited and you want progression at the start. If you feel like you're not getting any progression, or like in this game, I thought I was doing something wrong and like I wasn't playing properly because I'm like, why the hell am I not progressing? And I talked to a couple other people who play it and they're like, no, it's kind of like one of those things. And I know Web3 games, like a lot of them are early access and they're not finished yet. But man, like if you don't make people interested when they download the game and they feel like they're just like dragging along, they're gonna just churn and you're not gonna have anyone stick around.
Jerry, 30 seconds.
Yeah, Brian, please cover your ears. I'm gonna glaze the King of Destiny team yet again. I think that what one thing we keep talking about is like the amount of dopamine hits that are happening within the game, right? The opening cards feels good, and it, all these things. I look at Monopoly Go, right? What did Monopoly Go do super well? Another team I glaze all the time. I apologize, guys. But Monopoly Go does one thing that I haven't like all these Web3 teams ignore is fucking haptics on your phone. They fucking feel great when you're playing a game and you see this really good opening experience and your phone fucking vibrates for a second, or you're opening a pack for like 5 seconds and your phone's fucking shaking the whole time. And this is the thing Maria taught me when she was doing the Wolves. She was doing like game design theory stuff in Wolves DAO for a little while, and she talked extensively about how important haptics are. And I didn't really notice it ever before that, but after that, I notice it all the fucking time. How good it feels. And I love King of Destiny. I've been playing it so much. I think they're one of the best teams out there. I think they're one small piece away from unlocking something huge in the Web3 space, and that's just like the feel when you're playing your game. And it's a fun game and I love it so much. And I think once that is included, those dopamine hits are just so strong and they make you speak with your wallet even when you don't want to. I spent an embarrassing amount of money on Monopoly Go. It's not even a real fucking game, and I don't even really like Monopoly that much. But it got me so much because the game just feels good. And I think that's the common thing we're all seeing here. This is going to be good for all other TCGs, and it's a really good entry point for TCG players. I had never played Magic until like 3 months ago, and it's pretty fucking miserable to play when you're an adult for the first time. So things like this are great. Big thumbs up. This will be good for the coin games and the parallels of the world.
Great
What a
take.
horrendous take. Miserable. How dare you?
Great.
It's awful, dude. People are so fucking nerdy. Oh, you can't do that. My card cancels this. And it's like, fuck off, dude. I've never played the game before.
Oh, the people are miserable. Yes, I agree with that.
Nobody knows what 30 seconds looks like anymore. Dub, do you?
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry, dude. I do. The last thing that was not mentioned is that Pokemon, this game is very not aggressive on the monetization. Despite it wasn't until 6 hours in did I hit a wall and I feel like I needed to sign up for the $9.99 a month subscription so I can open 2 more packs. And then on top of that, I don't feel like I need to go spend more to go do all that kind of stuff. I feel fine. I'm not
Enjoy it
aggressively
while
incentivized to do that.
enjoy it while it
And
lasts, sucker.
yeah, whatever, Paul. It's fine. $9.99 for the rest of my life. We're good. They can take that, and I'll live with it. And that's the key too. Is like we are way too aggressive on our monetization across the board on Web3 experiences.
Yeah, 1000% agree with that part. We're moving on to talk about Parallel hosting a $250,000 esports tournament. It's really a $500,000 6 month long esports league. The finale is going to be held in Vegas at the HyperX Arena. Now, I trust that everybody on this panel is comfortable enough with Koji to answer whether or not this is bullish or bullshit. I don't want anybody to be afraid to call this bullshit if it is. 250K will be distributed to the winners at the minor and major tournaments throughout the league over 6 months, and then the finals is going to have 100K going to the winner, and everybody else below that getting their W. Now, with this being said, the real question of whether or not this is bullish or bullshit really comes down to marketing and timing of marketing. Fitch said in a Twitter comment yesterday, actually, that he said they haven't even really begun marketing yet because Parallel Mobile isn't ready. So everything up to this point could really be considered a test. Now, maybe that means Parallel Mobile is coming out sometime soon before the March tournament in Vegas. One could definitely infer that here. But also, is the timing right? Etc. Paul Bettner, bullish or bullshit? Oliver Maroney, bullish or bullshit?
Bullish. No, I'm very excited about this. HyperX Arena, if you haven't been there in Vegas, great venue. Um, in real life sports tournaments, esports, sports events, etc., bring a different level of engagement to a game, to a community. I think this is a really, really cool way of activating one of the best games in the space, if I do say so myself. And so I think that's where I'm going with this. I like the concept. I like the idea. I think it's we saw like maybe Dead Drop do this a couple of years ago at HyperX. We've seen a couple of other Web3 games activate in esports like events. I think 3XP did something last year where they had a stage. I know Avalanche actually had a stage at GDC with that kind of feel and vibe to it, but having it at an arena with a big prize pool, with all the additions here, one can imagine this being very cool. I'm super excited about it, and I definitely plan on attending. So props to them for putting this all together. I think
I'm
it'll be
not going to
cool.
glaze Koji, but I am going to say HyperX Arena was sick. I was at that Dead Drop event and it was lit. Let's go over to the Emperor of esports. It's Knock.
Yo, quick question for Koji before I give you my answer, because this might influence it for a little bit. Koji, how important, I'm a little ignorant here, how important were the regional and smaller events in terms of like placing, seating, who was allowed into this big event?
Uh, it's almost all of it. Like, there's a couple of invitational spots, but for the most part, like everyone who's in it has to. Or I don't even know if there are invitational spots in the finals. Everyone who's in it has to have qualified either through the regional events and or accumulated enough points in tournaments or online play. Like your standing in every season gives you points, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all
Amazing.
determined by the game.
All right, then the most bullish I could ever be on an esports tournament for a couple of reasons. One, that type of structure stops everybody who's bad at the fucking game from complaining about the structure of an individual event, whether or not, they got somebody that they played got lucky. You've got all these fucking opportunities to make it to the grand finals. If you're not there, it's because you're bad full stop. That's an important part of building esports tournaments for a couple of reasons, because the biggest thing that you see out of esports is people complaining about the structure and the organization of a tournament. When you allow players to have multiple opportunities to show themselves, show their skill, you do a few things that get people really excited about the grand finals. One, you build storylines, right? The underdog who maybe was close a couple of times but couldn't figure it out, but qualified through points or qualified through winning an individual tournament. These sort of stories are what make esports majors fun. Season long events give people weekly things to turn into, or monthly things, whatever that is, to tune into, watch their favorite players, and then everything culminates at the end with a major tournament with a large prize pool. For me, that is incredibly important as a former esports manager. One, because it allows you to create content on a schedule over the course of an extended period of time, something that one-off tournaments don't allow. Two, it allows the players to have an extended period of time to figure out how do we make adjustments to make sure that we are able to qualify for this particular event. And I think most importantly, it gives fans what I think is the biggest piece in esports, opportunity to see individual players 2 or 3 or 4 times, whether that be through the leaderboards, through the actual events that they go to and they visit. If you can build attachment to players or certain types of decks, or there's a story about a deck or a strategy that is operating or working well over the course of a couple of different events, it just adds to the, I guess, the tension in the room when it comes to a live LAN event. The worst thing in the world for me are soulless esports tournaments. Here's an invitational of 56 players who probably don't deserve to be there. There's no storylines. There's a big prize pool that's meant to get people excited. In reality, what happens is you see subpar gameplay. There's no stories. I don't care about anything that's happening within the actual tournament itself. When you structure things this way, you give people reason to be excited in the same way that you're excited about traditional sports. And if you've never been to an esports LAN, it is one of the most magical things in the world. High quality LANs like ESL that they have in Katowice, Poland every year is on par with any real life sporting event I've ever experienced in my life, and I go to tons of them. So for me, the structure nailed it. The idea that this is a season long thing, people can come to a final culminating event. Great, gives people a taste for what esports should be, and more importantly, it highlights the characters within the parallel ecosystem and universe. And as we've seen with games like Valorant and Fortnite, being able to tell stories around prominent players helps to sort of catapult those games into the limelight when it came to their rise to esports, infamy. So for me, love it, super bullish. Want to see more people put this amount of thought into esports tournament rather than just one-off events.
All right, we got to move quick through this one too. I'm going to give everybody a minute on the clock. Let's go to Kevin Lambert, a top 50 parallel player himself.
Thanks, man. Hugely bullish on this. And Knock, if you're not on the grand final stage, it's because you got high rolled, not because you're bad. Especially if you never make mistakes, like some of us, right? Just kidding. No, there's definitely something to an IRL competitive event, and I'm a competitive player myself. And I remember like when Hearthstone came out, feeling like, man, I miss going to my local shop and playing these little like card shop tournaments and stuff with Magic, and like it's just not the same. And then they had those little tavern fireside things that your local store could get a kit and you could play, and it just wasn't the same. And it wasn't until they had the World Championship road to that tournament and they filled the arena with tens of thousands of people, and you got to see them on stage. It's really different. And like having gone to those myself in physical card games, like the WoW TCG card game was the last like Worlds tournament I went to, and that was in Paris. And like you traveled there, you practiced with your team, you ate fast food the night before. Like it's just an experience, right? And even if you're like a viewer and not a player for that, it's so different. Like watching the best player in the world over on a webcam sitting in their bedroom playing versus like they're up on stage, and maybe if you're lucky you can get a word in with them afterwards when they're just chilling. Like there's just so much different about the experience for viewer and player alike that it's hugely bullish. It's necessary, in my opinion, for any competitive event. And even if I wasn't playing parallel, I would say gigantic bull flag on that event. Love to see it, and yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Exciting stuff. Let's send it over to Jerry and then to Dub, and then Koji will get the last word. 1 minute each, guys.
Yes, I'm sorry I went over last time, Sam. I'll be quick this time, and it's insanely bullish. And if you care about this industry and you want to see this industry just go forward, you should be insanely bullish on things like this. I think it's amazing what the guys are doing, and everybody should do what they can to get there, because this is, I think, a big moment where you'll see a lot of attention go to parallel. So even if you're not playing, if you're a content creator, if you're anything, you should find a way to get there and, play your part in moving this industry forward, because the parallel guys are doing that, and they've done it a million times. And so you can't not be bullish on these guys. Anybody who says anything otherwise, I'll block you. Like, I don't even want to see that shit out there, because what these guys are doing is incredible.
Dub.
All right, Jerry, get ready to fight then. First of all, I'm not bad at parallel just because I'm not in the invitational. I'm just busy. Definitely going to be flying out to view and spectate though. Where I'm not willing to put up like a full bull flag yet is I don't know how this is going to land with converting Web2 TCG audience into parallel at time of, because this is just, for me, it's table stakes. This is something that Parallel has to do to exist, to compete with Hearthstone in the future. And it's setting the groundwork for them to take swings at the future. I'm looking forward to what this event looks like next year or year 3 when that mobile is out and when they are converting more users. And that's what I'm worried about as a whole for this event, outside of being extremely excited about going and everything there.
And Koji, bullish or bullshit on your own event?
Uh, yeah, I mean that's a tough question to answer. I think that like forcing an esport is a bad idea. To be honest with you, like just generally speaking, being like my game is an esport and this is what we're doing. The one thing that I appreciate about how we've set stuff up is all the feeder events for the final are well, not all of them, but a lot of them are run by other organizations. So like, Paragon's DAO is running one, YGG is running one, a whole bunch of other people. And so it's not just us sort of dictating the terms of this. We sanction certain events and then they run it how they want, and whoever wins those events or places highly gets points towards making their way to the final. And I think that that's kind of the way that it needs to be. um I One of the things that like you kind of have to do, you have to take advantage of when the opportunity strikes, is basically like, when all that Hearthstone dust up stuff happened, you use that as like sort of uh amplification for press. And the same thing's true of um the esports, the dwindling of esports and something like Hearthstone or some of the other card games. Like there are a bunch of pros who are feeling the squeeze because the sport isn't as robust as it once was. And so we did this as early as we're doing it because we're trying to welcome in some of those more I guess athletes into the um, parallel realm in order to use their voices to amplify our game, and hopefully it will work. But that's sort of the idea.
Well, I'm fucking stoked for it. I don't know if it's bullish or bullshit, but I'm excited about more esports in Web3 gaming, and I think you guys have probably the single most legitimate esports. I don't know, the esports scene in all of Web3 gaming, which I think is awesome. So thanks for leading the charge there. The last topic that I want to squeeze in before we give our MVP is the Games GG Awards are being actively voted on right now. I wanted to just give everybody a quick fire moment to be able to shout out a game that you want to just bring more attention to and a creator. There's 30 nominated, but you only get one vote if you're on the jury or the people. It's a fan voted award. So give a shout out to a creator. Give a shout out to a game that you think should be. I think noticed during this award season. One of my favorite things about these awards, obviously winning last year was incredible, but I told Omar whenever I saw him in real life in Buenos Aires, the amount of fun and just like positivity that is poured into the space by virtue of these awards and allowing us to highlight the people that have made an impact over the last year in our space that is so nascent and sort of like flopping around like a baby seal. It hasn't learned how to swim yet, is so nice, because for 10 months out of the year we're just like shitting on everything, and then finally we get to just be positive for a little bit, and I really enjoy it. So I wanted to make sure that this show got a little bit of that. Paul Bettner had the hand up first. Give a shout out to
I
him.
mean, come on. If you all haven't already voted for Sam, and not only yourselves voting for Sam, but I know lots of you here represent communities of people that you should all be getting to go vote for Sam. I'm not just saying that because I love Sam, and I know we all love Sam, but there's not a harder working, better produced, like sane show in all of crypto than what Sam has been putting on here and in all the other work that he does in our space. So get out there and put him on the stage again, or you're all fucking fired.
Appreciate that. I didn't pay Paul for that, just for the record. I appreciate that. Delve, over to you, man. Who you got? Who you want to shout out?
Yeah, dude. There's one guy who I noticed has not been getting enough love around all the creator side of things during all this, and I want to give it to Doug Hype. That guy has done a lot, especially for Shrapnel over the last year, from really unique video creation to making me a Simpsons character. Like, I can't give that guy enough love for what he's done. It's truly creative. He created a AI version of me that literally hangs on my grandma's hallway. Like, props to the dude. For the games, my other dark pick is there in the audience right now. It's Sparkball. Like, I'm getting really freaking hyped for this. The rollout's going to be a lot of fun, and really, I think that's the one that is our Cinderella story that I want to celebrate this year at the Game 3 Awards.
I hope all the founders that are nominated come out to the Games Awards in Manila. It would be so awesome to have everybody in the same room and be able to celebrate together. Let's send it over to Knock next.
Yeah, I've got two games. The first is Fableborn. If you played their open playtest or their events earlier this year, you probably couldn't put your phone down. It was incredible. People were whining and complaining about how hard the game was. Again, more of a skill issue than a game issue. Ton of fun. Something that I definitely think you should participate in the next time it's open. The other game is definitely Sparkball. I played Sparkball almost 2 years ago with two former MOBA professionals in Locodoco and Psalm. Both of them have played in multiple titles professionally. We played a version of the game that didn't even really work, and we were fucking so excited about the product and what the game is. And since then, it's continued to get better. Chandler, the founder, is an absolute killer. The guy just will not stop pushing that game. That's a game that's going to make a ton of noise in 2025 and beyond. And then from content creator, Sam, you're the default de facto pick for me. You're going to be getting my vote, but something that I think a lot of people should be following is Icy. We talk about him a lot. He does a lot of great shows. I mentioned him earlier this week. This is a dude who not only creates incredible content, but enables a lot of your favorite creators to create the level of content that they create on a daily and weekly basis. He's somebody who works both in front of the camera and behind the camera. It is a very rare and very limited or very hard to find skill set. So he's definitely somebody that if you're not following, you should be following. And if you haven't voted for Sam, the only other person for me is Icy.
We love the Iceman. Great shout out, dude. He's been a huge supporter of so many of my favorite people in the space, including me. So shout out, Icy. I love you, man. Let's go over to Oliver Maroney next.
Yeah, for creators, Sam, I've told you this before. I think it was in the video. People listen to this space to get educated on what is going on in gaming and Web3. You have created this. I think it's well deserved that you get votes for Content Creator of the Year. The second person I wanted to throw out, Knox stole my thunder here, but Icy creates these daily recaps. They're incredible. He also is a really good sounding board for a lot of creators in this space and has done a lot of really good stuff for a lot of people. Definitely deserves a vote, a shout. And then from a games perspective, I'm going to go very bland here. I apologize if I'm not picking too many dark horses, but I have three games. I can't decide between the three. One is Wanderers. I said this a few weeks ago. I think Wanderers is kind of a slept on game. I like the visuals and the art style. The second one is going to be Off the Grid. Oh, shocker, that one, because the guy likes shooters. And third, Parallel, because Parallel continues to do things that I don't think many other games and or games have period in this space. Building three games feels like an crazy task. I thought building two games was a crazy task. They're building three now. And yeah, those are my picks.
Great stuff, Oliver. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask you guys also to include your vote for MVP. Oliver, who's your vote for MVP before we move on?
Oh boy, I think I've got to go. Wait, no. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. This is too hard. Okay, you know what? Give Jerry a nod for MVP. I don't really know why I'm giving it to him, but like Jerry Jerry never gets votes for MVPs. I feel like I don't know. I'm just shooting him down right now, but give Jerry the MVP.
I put Oliver in the fucking spin cycle there. You're welcome, Jerry. All right,
And
let's go.
give mine to Kevin. Kevin has had the hottest freaking takes on this show. So
Let's
Kevin, you bet. I'm so
go.
glad to be here with you, man. And we don't get to be here together enough. So thanks for joining.
Kevin will be back in force. Let's send it over to Kevin. Kevin, give me a couple of shout outs, creators, games, and MVP of the panel.
All right, for light horse takes, I'm going with Off the Grid and Parallel and Wildcard as the most anticipated game for me personally. God, everybody's here. This is awesome. Um, so blessed to be working in the space with such awesome giants. For Dark Horse, I would go with Forgotten Runeverse of all titles. I don't know if you guys got a chance to play that
Oh,
beta, but
shit.
I played it. Just I got doing the quests and doing the social engagement, but I'm like, this game has like RuneScape vibes going on, and I couldn't stop playing it while the beta was open. So that was pretty cool. And for creators, oh man, I hate to jump on the same train as everybody else, but I have to. But I will say something different. Sam is my pick, but maybe not for the reasons everybody else does. I value humility so much in a space where there's experts and self-proclaimed, awesome people, and Sam has that perfect blend of knowledge and humility that that speaks to me. So that's why Sam gets my pick. My dark horse pick might be Jonah, Jonah Blake, just because I love his hot. I love that there's someone who just doesn't care and is willing to piss people off and and give hot takes all day.
And your MVP of the panel.
MVP of the panel is definitely Paul, and not because he said me. I would have said this if you asked me to go first. Paul and I go way back, and I feel like we're cut from a similar cloth of like UX and DNA and player experience first. And I've been listening to Gamified for a long time, and Paul always has some of the greatest takes.
Hard agree with you there. Thanks for the kind words, Kevin. I appreciate it. You guys don't have to keep glazing me, but I do love all of you and appreciate all the kind words. Let's go over to Sinjin. Sinjin, couple of games, couple of creators in your dark horse, or excuse me, in your MVP of the episode.
Yeah, obviously, I'm all for going for my original picks of a repeat. So, Sam, you know, you've already gotten so many flowers, but yeah, really appreciate you for the space. And parallel, I think there was a thread about like or comments about pivotal moments, and people were saying off the grid's a pivotal moment, and for me, you have to include parallel. They had their token out. They took the first hits very much so, and they continue to be there. It's not a game that we need to anticipate. I mean, it's here, and they continue to make strides. Dark horses. I mean, not a dark horse. I love Doug Hype. He definitely needs to get a lot of love, more love than he gets. He's an outstanding personality, but once you get to know him as well, beyond like the cake and the glasses and stuff like that, he's a very solid human being. And I think while Jonah will never win Creator of the Year, he does deserve a lot of credit for being so early and doing the hot takes and calling people out. And maybe that's his persona as a heel and a vision. But I have always found that there's been some insight into what he says. My MVP is Dub. Dub came in. I never give him the MVP. He's not going to win it today, but Dub, you're always the MVP in my heart, brother.
We love the dub. Big shout out. Love you, Sinjin. Let's send it over to Jerry next. Jerry, who you got, buddy?
Hey, sorry. I was replying to comments. Um, for game, I think it's got to be Fableborn. Um, I think Parallel deserves a lot of credit because I think you don't disrupt a major genre like that without doing some things right. So I would say it's hands down between those two. Most anticipated, Paul. Ship the game already, Paul. I want to vote for you guys next year.
Amen. Me too.
Paul's ready to work on his next idea. So, creator Sam, I love you to death. You know, you're one of my best friends in the world, and I want to see you take it. If not Sam, I think Icy deserves so much credit because of the things he's done. I mean, you know, he's the first guy I call when I have questions about things I need to do or I'm having creative troubles or anything like that. And he really uplifts the whole space and I think the industry just by being a good sounding board and like always thinking of new ideas. And like every time I see Icy come up with like a new concept, I'm like, oh, dude, like I wish I would have thought of that. That's so cool. And then you know I watch his stuff every day. MVP is Kevin Lambert for sure. This guy's fucking awesome. I love every moment I get to spend talking to Kevin, and you know, hearing from him is always a pleasure.
Ah, man, the Kevin love and the Icy love. You guys got me in the feels. You love to see it. Let's send it over to Lems, and then we'll have Koji finish up too.
All right, well, I'm not going to glaze you, Sam, even though I already voted and I did vote for you. One thing I'll say for like Omar or someone, if you're listening, like let us vote for like three people and give like a point system because you know I like some of the people I would like to have voted for. Yeah, like Icy is the light horse pick here. Like you know he is like probably one of the nicest guys, probably the nicest guy I know in my like real life as well. Like that guy is just such a genuine dude in the space and will help anyone out. So yeah, big shout out for Icy. My dark horse pick is Napera, who's actually like a smaller creator, but he runs all these game nights and all these different discords. He's like such a genuine dude too, and just like so hardworking in the space. And that guy like grinds like so hard. So yeah, big shout out for Napera. For some of the games, yeah, I think Fableborn's another easy pick. I think is like they're just crushing it on the mobile side. I was surprised not to see King of Destiny on the mobile. Like you know, shout out to Bri there from Infinite Gods, and on anticipated, there was a Parallel Colony. I've been waiting for that game for so long. So come on, Koji, like when are we going to get access to it? And of course, wildcard on the anticipated one. And then I had a dark horse pick for game now, and now my brain is totally blanking on me. Oh, it was the Bournemouth, who I tend to shill on this space quite a lot because I love that team and what they're doing over there, and they're just like a small, scrappy indie team who have been absolutely just grinding and hustling over the last few years. So big shout out to the Bournemouth. I'd love to see the traction they've been getting. They crushed it at Gamescom. So yeah, I'd love to see them get more attention and go nuts when they finally launch.
Great stuff. I see Dave Schick in the audience also shouts out Ali Straza. Ali actually got my vote last year and also this year. I think Ali has done a ton for the destigmatization of Web3 gaming. The way that she's sort of faced off against an entire Hearthstone community that is the primary basis of her followers and, you know, speaks the virtues of Web3 can't be easy. And I have mad respect for her. Shout out to Ali Straza. Koji's probably going to do the same thing. Koji, over to you.
Yeah, I definitely have to give a huge shout out to Ali. You know, she's the best. She's also become a friend of mine, and I really appreciate it. I mean, I think we all know Sam's gonna win this thing, though. So too bad for her. Um, and I don't know. As far as games are concerned, like Wildcard always has my vote. So Wildcard, except for in the card game category, Paul said himself on the show that it wasn't a card game. So vote for Parallel instead. Um, and then also just shout out to Wilder World, man, my fellow Canadians. Those guys are I love those guys. I love what they're doing. So you know, I want to give them some credit. And they're not even on this games award list, but I'm just gonna shout them out anyway because I love the team as well. The Forgotten Playland guys are fucking sick. So hopefully they get some awards next year. Um, yeah, I don't know. And my vote for MVP is Kevin because he's been my MVP for a long time, even though this is the first show that I've done with him. So
You love to hear it. I think we're missing a couple more MVP votes because I didn't ask you guys to do it right away. Knock, have you given me yours?
No, but it's Kevin.
All right. Well, Kevin's got enough votes to take it home, and we're at the end of our show. I'm going to send it over to him for 60 seconds of FaceTime. Kevin, what do you want to plug, brother?
Oh man, not prepared. Um, what do I want to plug? We're coming out of Stealth this week, not with a game launch, but a little light community building, a little talking about what we've got cooking and our approach. Happy to geek out with anybody. DMs are always open. We're not hiding anything. We're just, you know, where we are in development. And I just love being at the forefront of the innovation with in this space in Web3 gaming, with to try to make it not about finance, but to make it about the experience. And I'm hoping to show rather than tell what we mean by that coming very soon. I love chatting with you guys. Happy to be on the show anytime.
Great to have you, Kevin. Thank you for being so humble and knowledgeable. A rare combination that we do covet here at Gamified. I think we found some of the people that embody that the most. I will say I didn't really know what Coin Games was cooking up, but I did see their deck and had the lucky opportunity to sit down with the team for 90 minutes the other day, and I was just sort of blown away. To be honest, I don't say this very often. Most decks that I sit through, I am falling asleep during. Really, really, really excited about what they're building. And so, Kevin, you have my interest. You've piqued my interest. With that being said, as we near the finish line of another epic episode of Gamified, it's time to pay tribute to the unsung hero of the show, Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. Avalanche has been quietly revolutionizing the gaming world, making sure that anyone with a vision can turn it into a reality with their groundbreaking Avalanche 9000 technology. It's never been easier, cheaper, or more powerful to deploy your very own layer one blockchain. Okay, this ain't no L2s or L3s. The future of Web3 gaming is on Avalanche. So what are you waiting for? If you want to get in touch with the AVAX folks, reach out to me or Coop and tell them Gamified sent you. And as we bring this wild ride to a close, let's give one last salute to our stellar sponsor, StarNet, the ad tech ace leading the charge in a new era. Say goodbye to the greedy gatekeepers and hello to a network where you can call the shots. It's the revolution of revenue, the future of fairness, and the ultimate upgrade to advertising. It's time to take back control with the official infrastructure of Gamified. Thank you to StarNet, and thank you to everybody that listened and supported this episode of Gamified, including our amazing panelists, Oliver Maroney from OpenSea, Sinjin from My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, of course, Koji from Parallel, Wild Paul from Wild Card, Kevin Lambert from Coin Games, Knock from Magic Eden, Lems from the ETH Lizards, Jerry from Uptick, and Dub from Shrapnel. We had Coupon earlier as well. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you giving me 2 hours of your weekday, knowing that it's a work day and the things you have to move around and sacrifice to be here. I love each and every one of you guys that are on the panel or listening. We will see you back here, same time, same place next week for another epic episode of Gamified. Big smooches. Love you guys.